Ever feel like you're trying to climb a mountain, you know? And like you can't even see the peak.
Yeah,
It's easy to get overwhelmed by those big goals.
for sure.
And I think today's deep dive might change how you approach those mountains
Okay.
or any challenge, really. We're going to be diving into this fantastic interview with Ed Mylett from the JayShettyPodcast.
Yeah.
And it's all about the power of one more.
That's right. Ed's whole philosophy is all about these, tiny, consistent actions that you take. And those tiny actions, over time, lead to massive results. It's about shifting your focus from how big the goal is to just like the very simple, achievable act of doing one more of whatever it takes to get there.
Okay, so like breaking that huge mountain into manageable steps.
Yeah, exactly.
Ed shares some really amazing stories that illustrate this perfectly.
Okay.
He talks about almost giving up on his business
Uh-huh.
during a really, really rough patch.
Okay.
And his father gave him some really game-changing advice. He said, don't quit for one more day. And that advice became his mantra.
Interesting.
So instead of thinking about like all the challenges ahead, he just focused on getting through that one day. It's a perfect example of how one more, reframes the challenge and makes it feel less daunting.
Yeah. Yeah, you can wrap your head around that. Like, I can do one more day.
Yeah. And what's fascinating is it doesn't just talk the talk. He walks the walk.
Mm-hmm.
He uses this approach like in all areas of his life,
Mm-hmm.
from business deals to his relationship with his family, even his meditation, which he admits he really struggles with, is rooted in this like one more time philosophy.
Exactly. He talks about how, even when his mind is racing, he commits to just one more minute of meditation. So it's not about, forcing yourself to become like, a Zen master overnight. It's about those small, consistent wins
Right.
that over time build into something bigger.
Yeah, yeah. And the best part is he actually credits this whole one more day mentality with saving his father's life. His father struggled with alcoholism.
Oh, wow.
And it was that same one more day. But in this case, one more day without a drink.
Yeah.
That's the approach that helped him achieve sobriety.
So interesting. It's like that mindset isn't just about external success or like, building your business or whatever. It's about internal transformation as well. It's about building self-respect, like proving to yourself that you have the power to overcome challenges one day, one step, one rep at a time.
Yeah. So you're not just like, building your business or getting in shape, but you're actually building character and resilience along the way.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that each one more is a victory.
Yeah.
And those victories, no matter how small, they do add up to something much greater.
But we've got to make sure, though, that, those one mores are directed towards the right goals.
Right.
Otherwise, you could be incredibly productive, but completely misaligned.
That's such a good point.
It's
It's like running full speed ahead, but in the wrong direction.
Exactly. How do we ensure that our one mores are actually leading us towards, like a meaningful and fulfilling life?
Well, Ed suggests that we, do regular self-reflection. He actually asks the question, what mattered to you 5 years ago? Does it still matter today? Because, values and aspirations change, so your one mores need to evolve with them.
Okay, so checking in with yourself, reassessing your priorities, and making sure that your actions are aligned with who you are.
Exactly.
What you want to achieve right now. That makes sense. But what about those times when self-doubt creeps in? When you're like, maybe success is just for other people, not for me.
Yeah.
How do we overcome that and really tap into our potential?
Well, Ed has a really interesting way of looking at this. He says, a lot of us get caught up in the idea that greatness has to be this big flashy thing. But he believes true greatness lies in recognizing the cumulative power of those seemingly small actions. And he actually uses this, it's kind of a fun analogy, the piñata.
Oh, I love this analogy.
So you keep hitting the piñata. Yeah. Seems like nothing's happening, but with every swing, you're making progress. It's just invisible progress.
Right.
And then, bam.
All that candy comes pouring out.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about trusting that those one mores, even when they feel insignificant, they're working behind the scenes. They're chipping away at the obstacles, creating momentum that will eventually lead to a breakthrough.
So even when we don't see those immediate results, those efforts aren't wasted.
Right.
They're setting the stage for something amazing.
Yeah.
But Ed doesn't just stop at applying one more to actions and goals.
Right.
He takes it a step further into the realm of like our emotions.
Yeah, that's right. He talks about his own personal evolution, right? From chasing external validation to actually prioritizing inner peace.
Yeah.
He noticed, like, he wasn't finding lasting fulfillment in, like, achievements.
Right, right.
And so he started to apply the one more principle to actually cultivate positive emotion. He committed to experiencing, one more moment of gratitude, one more act of kindness, even one more minute of stillness through meditation.
So it's like we can use one more to shape our inner world,
Exactly.
to create like
Yeah.
a more positive emotional state. That's powerful.
It is powerful. He believes we all have an emotional home, right? Like a set of feelings we tend to gravitate towards.
Hmm.
And if that home is filled with, negativity, that's where we're going to keep finding ourselves, even if it doesn't serve us.
Right.
And the good news is we can use one more to intentionally create like a new emotional landscape.
Yeah. So instead of those default negative emotions taking over, we can actively choose one more positive emotion.
Exactly.
One more moment of peace, one more expression of love.
Yeah.
And over time, those small shifts can create like a huge change in how we experience the world.
It's all about recognizing we have more control over our emotions than we often realize. And just like any other skill, the more we practice choosing those positive emotions, the better we get at it.
Right.
It's about creating like a more supportive inner environment, a foundation for greater resilience and happiness. Like we're building a muscle, right? A muscle of positivity and resilience. And just like any muscle, it takes, consistent effort to actually strengthen it.
So it's not about like denying those negative emotions.
Right.
But it's about making a conscious choice to cultivate the positive ones, one at a time.
Yeah.
What really struck me about Ed's story, though, was that he didn't start out with this like unwavering self-belief.
Yeah.
He actually admitted to like feeling inadequate, like he didn't deserve success.
That's so relatable, though. I mean, Ed was bullied in school and he felt like the little guy and he didn't have like that natural swagger,
Right.
But here's the key. He didn't wait for like self-confidence to just magically appear.
Right.
He went out and earned it.
One more at a time.
Exactly. One more at a time.
So instead of getting stuck in that feeling of like not being good enough, he took action. And he proved to himself, one step at a time, that he was capable of more than he thought.
Yes.
It's like that saying, fake it till you make it. But in this case, it's more like do it till you believe it.
Exactly. It's about taking action even when you don't feel ready.
Right.
And those one mores become like proof to yourself
Right.
that you can handle whatever comes your way.
Right.
And that builds real confidence. Not the superficial kind, but the kind that's like rooted in experience and resilience.
Yeah. Okay, I'm starting to see how this one more philosophy is almost like, a recipe for personal transformation.
Yeah.
But what about when we face those inevitable setbacks? Or how do we keep that momentum going when things get tough?
Well, Ed talks about the importance of detaching from the outcome. He says a lot of people, operate from history and memory, right? Like they're replaying past failures, dwelling on what hasn't worked. But that just keeps you stuck in a cycle of negativity.
Yeah.
He suggests that we shift to operating from vision and imagination, focusing on the possibilities instead of the setbacks.
Okay, so it's like visualizing that future you want to create.
Yeah.
And trusting that those one mores are getting you closer, even when you can't see the immediate results. It's about believing in the power of those small actions to add up to something amazing.
That's it. And he doesn't suggest we ignore our past, or pretend that failures don't happen.
Right.
But he says those challenges, they're valuable learning opportunities. Some of the, happiest and most successful people I know, they faced like incredible setbacks. They've just learned to reframe those experiences and use them to actually fuel their growth.
Yeah. So it's about recognizing that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the process. And often it's those challenges that teach us the most valuable lessons.
Right.
And they shape us into the people we're meant to be.
Yeah, speaking of challenges, Ed actually shares a really powerful story about Kobe Bryant that perfectly illustrates this, pushing through discomfort.
Okay.
So Kobe was known for playing through injuries, right? Even when doctors and coaches advised him to stop.
Right.
But he wasn't doing it out of ego or, a desire to prove something to others. He was driven by like a deep love for the game.
Right.
And, a commitment to showing up for his fans even when it was hard.
That's inspiring. So he understood that his presence on the court, even when he wasn't at his best, it could make a difference.
Yeah.
And he was committed to giving that one more,
Yes.
even when it was hard.
And that's what's so powerful about this one more mentality. It helps us tap into like a deeper source of motivation, a purpose that goes beyond our own like personal comfort.
Right.
And when we're driven by something, bigger than ourselves, those one mores become like acts of service, expressions of love and commitment. And that's where like true fulfillment lies.
That makes me think about Ed's story, too, about his father and his journey to sobriety. The person who helped his father, wasn't some like famous therapist or guru.
Right.
It was someone who had struggled with addiction themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And just, offered support and compassion.
Yeah. It's a beautiful reminder that we don't need to have all the answers,
Right.
or be in a position of power to actually make a difference.
Yep.
Sometimes the most impactful acts of service are those simple acts of kindness, of showing up for someone when they need us.
Right.
Even if it's just for one more moment.
Yeah. It's like those small acts of kindness, those one mores of compassion are the threads that weave together, a more beautiful and supportive world.
Exactly. And it all like circles back, right?
Mm-hmm.
To that shift Ed talked about from seeking external validation to prioritizing inner peace. He talks about how he's intentionally incorporated medication into his daily routine, committing to one more minute of stillness, one more breath of awareness, even when his mind is racing.
So it's like creating a foundation of inner strength.
Yeah.
Right? Like a sense of grounding that helps us navigate, the chaos of life with more grace and resilience. It's about recognizing that our inner world is just as important as our outer world.
100%. And he also talks about, recognizing and managing our emotional home.
Right.
These patterns of feelings we tend to gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm.
And if that home, if it's filled with like negativity and stress and self-doubt, it's going to be so much harder to actually like create a life of joy.
Right.
So he talks about, making a conscious effort to actually shift those negative thought patterns, replacing them with affirmations of self-love, gratitude, and appreciation. It's about realizing like we have the power to shape our inner world, to create like a more supportive and nurturing environment for our, our minds and spirits.
And he emphasizes too that this is a practice, not a destination.
Right.
There'll be times when we like slip back into those old patterns of negativity, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing it and making that one more effort to shift our mindset, to cultivate more positive emotions, and to create that, more fulfilling life. Ed shares this really powerful story about his father's passing.
Oh, wow.
And the profound impact that had on his perspective on life. He talks about how his father, facing his own mortality, found this like renewed appreciation for, how precious time is.
Yeah.
And the importance of living each day to the fullest.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. He realized that, life is finite. Our days are numbered.
Yeah.
And that we have this choice to either spend those days, dwelling on the past or embracing the present moment and creating a future filled with like meaning and purpose. He talks about how his father, despite facing, immense pain and suffering, chose to focus on gratitude, on the joy of spending time with loved ones and like the beauty of the world around him.
Yeah.
He made a conscious effort to like savor those moments, to express his love and appreciation to those he cared about and to like make the most of every remaining day. It's a powerful reminder that our time here is limited. We don't know how many days we have left. And we have this choice.
Yeah.
Right, to either spend those days wisely or waste them on, regrets, negativity, missed opportunities. It's a call to action to like embrace the present moment, to cherish our relationships, and to create a life that, feels aligned with our values and aspirations.
And he encourages us, right, to live with that sense of urgency, to pursue our dreams with passion, and to make the most of every single moment. He reminds us we have the power to shape our destinies, to create a life that feels rich and fulfilling, and to leave a legacy that inspires others.
Yeah. It's a powerful reminder that, we're not just living for ourselves, but for something much greater. We're part of this lineage, a tapestry of lives. And our actions have the power to like impact generations to come.
Right.
It's not about, striving for perfection or trying to achieve like some grand unattainable goal.
Yeah.
It's about showing up each day with intention, with a commitment to make a positive impact, and with a heart filled with gratitude.
Yeah.
This whole conversation has really got me thinking about the power of small actions. consistent small actions.
Yes.
It's so easy to get caught up in like the hustle of daily life
Yeah.
and feel like we're not making any progress.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where this idea of one more can be so transformative. It helps us to, like, shift our perspective, to see those small actions, those, seemingly insignificant efforts as building blocks for something much greater.
Yeah.
Right.
It's about recognizing that even in the days we don't feel like we're accomplishing much, those one mores are adding up. They're creating momentum.
Yeah.
And they're moving us closer to our goals, even if we can't always see it.
That's it. It's about trusting the process.
Yeah.
Believing that those small, consistent efforts, they will lead to extraordinary results.
Yeah. It makes you think of that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And each one more is like taking that step, moving us closer to our destination, even if it's, 1 inch at a time.
And it's not just about, like, external achievements. It's also about those internal one mores that we make.
Right.
Those choices to be a little bit kinder, a little bit more patient, a little bit more forgiving. Those are the one mores that, transform our hearts and make us, better human beings.
And those internal one mores, I think they often have the biggest ripple effects.
Oh, for sure.
Right. They, they influence our relationships, our communities.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like the world around us. It's about recognizing that we all have the power to make a positive impact.
Yes.
No matter how small our actions may seem.
Yeah. Ed talks about how he's made this conscious effort to shift his perspective from scarcity to abundance. From focusing on what he lacks to appreciating everything that he has.
He encourages us to make gratitude a daily practice.
Right.
To take the time to appreciate the, simple things in life.
Yeah.
The people we love.
Yeah.
The opportunities we have. And, the beauty that surrounds us.
And when we do that, when we focus on gratitude, we shift our energy. We attract more abundance into our lives. And we create, a more positive and fulfilling experience.
Yeah. He also talks about the importance of giving back.
Yeah.
Right? Using our time, our talents, our resources to make a positive impact. He reminds us that we're all interconnected.
You're right.
And that our actions have ripple effects. And that by contributing to the well-being of others, we not only make a difference in their lives, but also enrich our own.
Yeah. He talks about how he's, found so much fulfillment in mentoring others, in sharing his knowledge and experience to help others achieve their dreams. It's about recognizing that we all have something valuable to offer, right? And that by, sharing our gifts, we not only make a difference in the lives of others, but we enrich our own lives in the process.
Yeah. He encourages us to find ways to give back to our communities, to support causes that we believe in, to use our talents to make the world a brighter place.
Right. It's about recognizing that we're all part of something much bigger than ourselves, and that by contributing to the well-being of others, we create a more fulfilling and meaningful life for everyone.
Ed emphasizes that giving back doesn't have to be, some grand heroic gesture.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be offering a kind word, lending a helping hand, or just being present with someone who needs our support.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even the smallest acts of kindness can have a ripple effect.
Right.
Creating a more compassionate and supportive world for all of us.
And he reminds us that when we give from a place of, genuine generosity without expecting anything in return, we experience a deep sense of joy and fulfillment.
Yes. It's about recognizing that true wealth isn't measured by our bank accounts, right? But by, the richness of our relationships, the depth of our compassion, the positive impact that we have on the world.
Yeah. It also reminds us that, this one more principle isn't just about pushing ourselves harder.
Right, right.
It's also about, being more mindful of our energy.
Yeah.
About recognizing when we need to, rest and recharge.
Yeah.
And about making self-care a priority.
Yes. We live in a culture that often glorifies busyness, but Ed really emphasizes the importance of incorporating rest minutes into our day.
Yeah, I love that idea of rest minutes. It's giving our minds and bodies a chance to reset and recharge.
Exactly.
Right, so that we can then show up in other areas of our lives.
Yeah.
And speaking of recharging, Ed stresses the importance of sleep. He's made it a non-negotiable in his own routine.
Yeah.
And he's not just talking about the quantity of sleep, but the quality as well.
Absolutely. He talks about creating a sleep-conducive environment, making sure your bedroom is, dark, cool, comfortable, avoiding caffeine and alcohol before bed, engaging in relaxing activities to help you wind down.
It's about like treating sleep as an essential investment in our well-being,
Exactly.
not something to be sacrificed in the name of, productivity.
Right. And speaking of prioritizing our well-being, it also talks about the importance of, learning to say no. It's easy to feel pressured to say yes to everything, right? But Ed reminds us that saying no is actually a form of self-care.
Yeah. So it's like protecting our time and energy so we can focus on the things that truly matter.
Right. He encourages us to be more discerning
Yeah.
about what we commit to, be willing to say no to things that don't, align with our values, our goals, our well-being.
Right. It's not about becoming a hermit
No.
or like shutting ourselves off from the world. It's about being more intentional with our time and energy
Exactly.
and choosing to focus on those activities and relationships that bring us joy, fulfillment, and a sense of purpose.
And he reminds us, right, we have the power to create a life that, feels aligned with our values, supports our well-being, and allows us to make a meaningful contribution. And it all starts with those small conscious choices,
Right.
those one mores that move us in the right direction.
Yeah. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose our responses, set boundaries, and create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. Ed talks about the importance of cultivating like a beginner's mind, approaching life with a sense of like curiosity and wonder,
Yeah.
and being open to like new experiences and perspectives.
Yeah. He encourages us to let go of our preconceived notions, challenge our assumptions, and embrace the unknown with a sense of adventure.
He reminds us that like, the more we know, the more we realize we don't know.
Right.
And it's in that process of like, exploring, experimenting, and discovering that we truly come alive. He talks about how he's constantly like seeking out new knowledge, new skills, and new experiences, and how this like pursuit of learning has enriched his life in countless ways. And he encourages us to adopt like a growth mindset, to see challenges as opportunities,
Yeah.
and to believe in our ability to like continuously evolve and expand our horizons.
Right.
Yeah. He reminds us that learning is a lifelong journey, that it's never too late to start something new, and that the world is, full of possibilities.
And he shares the story about a time when he decided to learn to play the guitar. And, he had no prior musical experience and he wasn't sure if he'd be any good at it, but he was curious. He was willing to, challenge himself. And he was open to like discovering, maybe a hidden talent.
Yeah. And so he took lessons, he practiced really diligently, and he gradually began to develop his skills. He wasn't aiming to become like a professional musician. He was simply enjoying the process of learning, of challenging himself, and of like expanding his horizons. And that story is a powerful reminder that it's never too late to learn something new, to pursue a passion, or to discover a hidden talent. It's about embracing the joy of learning, of challenging ourselves, and of expanding our horizons. It's about recognizing that life is a continuous process of growth and evolution, and that it's in the process of exploring, experimenting, and discovering ourselves that we truly come alive.
Yeah.
And that's really what this one more philosophy is all about, right?
Yeah.
It's about embracing the journey, celebrating those small wins, and trusting that those, small, consistent efforts will lead us to a life that feels fulfilling and aligned with who we are meant to be.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we have the power to like shape our destinies, to create a life that feels rich and meaningful, to make a positive impact on the world around us. And it all starts with making that commitment, to one more, to take that next step, to keep moving forward even when it's challenging.
It's like he's giving us permission to let go of that pressure to be perfect,
Yeah.
to embrace the messy, imperfect, but ultimately beautiful, process of becoming.
Yeah, and that's where the power of one more really shines, right? It's not about like, achieving some grand overnight transformation. It's about those like small, consistent steps that over time, lead to, remarkable growth.
And it's about recognizing that even when we stumble, even when we fall short of our expectations, we can always get back up and try again.
Yeah.
It's that resilience,
Yeah.
that commitment to one more effort that makes all the difference.
And what's interesting is how Ed, ties this whole one more philosophy back to love and purpose. He says, when we're fueled by love for what we do, for the people we serve, for the impact we want to create, those one mores become infused with like, A whole new level of energy.
Yeah. It's like they become like expressions of our deepest values.
Yeah.
Of what truly matters to us.
Right.
And that's what makes it powerful.
He talks about how in the early days of building his business, he was driven by a desire to, prove himself, achieve success,
Right.
gain recognition.
Right.
But as he matured, he realized that those external motivators weren't enough.
Right.
He needed something deeper, something more meaningful.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And that's when he shifted his focus, right, to love and purpose.
Exactly.
He realized that when he was driven by this desire to make a positive impact, to, contribute to something bigger than himself, those one mores became so much easier, so much more fulfilling.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of this whole philosophy,
Yeah.
right? It's not just about, achieving goals. It's about aligning those goals with our deepest values, with what truly lights us up.
Right.
And when we do that, those one mores become more than just tasks. They become acts of love, acts of service.
Right.
Expressions of our authentic selves.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Yeah, it has.
It's like Ed has given us a whole new way of looking at,
Yeah.
challenges, goals, and even our own potential.
And the best part is it's so simple,
Right.
yet so profound. It's something we can all apply in our lives starting today. It doesn't require any special skills or resources, just a willingness to, embrace that one more mentality.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'd love for you to consider this. What is one area of your life right now where you can commit to doing one more today?
Oh, I love that.
It could be, one more minute of exercise, one more page of that book you've been meaning to read.
Yeah.
One more kind word to a loved one. Even just one more moment of gratitude for all the good in your life, The beauty of this approach is that those one mores don't have to be grand or heroic.
Exactly.
They can be simple everyday actions that over time create a ripple effect of positive change.
Yes.
Remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress.
Love that.
It's about those small, consistent wins that build momentum and ultimately lead us to, a life that feels more aligned, more fulfilling, and more joyful.
So embrace the power of one more, right? And watch your life transform. One step, one action, one moment at a time.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep pushing, keep growing, and keep embracing the power of one more.